Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spiderversity. This is the show where we talk about Spider-Man. I'm your host, DJ Woldridge. With me, as always, is Sal. Hey, Sal.
Hey, thwip, thwip.
Thwip, thwip. The signature thwip, thwip. And listen, gang, we're starting a new series. We've done the Spider-Man movies, including Madam Web. We've done Spider-Man the Animated Series. We've done Spider-Man Unlimited. Where's next? When we're talking about iconic Spider-Man shows, what's next? And of course, we go back to the deep bench of Sal and Mai's like pre-child, like this was on right before I was born. So I was catching in syndication, or I got a VHS package with an action figure I bought or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're going back to Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Originally debuted back in 1981. Boy, howdy! It's made in 1981, but it feels like it comes from the 60s. I meant to look up this. This must predate, like G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles. By years.
It does. I think G.I. Joe is 83 or 84, so it's like a few years before. Turtles is 87.
Turtles is 87. Yeah. So
Turtles is the sweet spot. Because by the time we get to 87, because this show has no merchandising.
Yeah.
Which is the only justification I can think of to make this show, because otherwise I would almost argue this is made by a person who hates cartoons.
Yes.
But yeah, no. We're not quite at like the Reagan, deregulation sweet spot.
Yeah.
There is nothing to this show. Like, there is no morality, but there's also no commercial appeal.
Yeah. They'll occasionally throw out the loosest and most shallow of science facts to be like, hey, it's educational. But it's funny that, when you think about the stuff of my youth, like Transformers and G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles, that stuff, of course, now feels dated. But having watched this, you realize, for its time, that was as revolutionary as Batman the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series.
Those were eating this show's lunch.
Because this is what we were dealing with before that.
That's why I don't understand people's reverence for this show. Because, when I was a kid and I discovered Spider-Man and was promised by pop culture that we would never get a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man Animated Series was going to be the best thing you'd ever seen because there was nothing else.
No.
This was it. By the time I caught this wasn't even in syndication. Or if it was, I kept missing it.
Yeah.
So, I had to buy VHS tapes that promised a fun show, but instead housed this.
Yes.
And so I didn't watch every episode of the show because every episode of the show was like $30 a tape.
Yep.
And so I had these, I have at least 3 episodes of the show and 1 recorded from some other friend's house.
Yeah.
And so I know this show, but some of it's mixed in with the other Spider-Man show that predates this show, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
3 Amazing Friends. Can you imagine a show that doesn't even have Firestar and Iceman in it, where it's just this, and with Spider-Man by himself somehow manages to be more watchable? I don't know how. But yeah, I don't understand people's reverence for this show.
Nostalgia.
Every time people are like, ooh, we got to get Iceman and Firestar in there. I'm like, yeah, remind people about this borderline unwatchable show.
Dude, it is on the verge of just how are we doing? I meant to look up because I thought I knew. Do you know off the top of your head why? Because it was supposed to be. So the setup for this show is Spider-Man and his amazing friends. It's Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar, who I believe was originally created for this show.
Yes,
and their secret lab inside Aunt May's home, and going on adventures. And it was originally supposed to be Human Torch instead of Firestar, and I don't remember why that ended up not being the case.
Yeah, I don't really know. I've heard rumors that it was supposed to be Human Torch.
Yeah,
but I've also, there have been conjecture and rumor about why Human Torch was replaced by Herbie in the 1960s Fantastic Four cartoon, so that could be blending in with it.
Oh my God, again, I didn't even know about that.
Oh yeah, no,
Herbie?
And even then, Herbie the robot.
Yeah, I know, but
well, they were like, well, yeah, and I don't even think it had anything to do with safety issues. In this case, I think it was a licensing issue.
Yeah, I think here we go.
We don't have the rights to use the Human Torch, but we still need that fire angle, because when you think of the 3 basic elements, you got fire, you got ice, and you got spiders.
Yeah, exactly. We know classical Greek elements, you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, so the series was an attempt by NBC to replicate some of the success ABC enjoyed with the Super Friends franchise. The makers of the show originally intended the stars to be Spider-Man, Iceman, and the Human Torch. However, legal issues about the rights of the Human Torch character, which had plagued Marvel once before for the 1978 Fantastic Four cartoon. What rights issues? Anyway,
because there's 2 Human Torches. There's the robot Human Torch that predates the Johnny Storm Human Torch, and
all right, they didn't have the rights at whatever. Anyway, this led to Human Torch being replaced by a new character, Firestar, who had similar powers but was a mutant like Iceman. Due to Firestar's popularity with fans, she has since become part of the mainstream Marvel universe. In pre-production, Firestar's codename changed frequently. The unused names include Firefly, Starblaze, and Heatwave. And I'm going to just let you guys know right now, based on my notes taking, I am going to mess up Firestar's name, especially when we get to the Sunfire episode.
Oh my god!
Because I'm going to keep wanting to call her Starfire. That's going to happen.
Everyone wants to call her Starfire because Starfire is a name that people know and is related to a character people love, and Firestar is a studio note.
Yeah.
And that's that. I do love Firestar.
I'm okay with Firestar. I like Firestar too, but I'm going to float this as to her popularity because this show is surprisingly horny for a 1981.
Well, they're like, we don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, we have these 2 boys. They're in college.
Question mark.
With this other girl, or they don't. It's really nebulous. And what else are we going to do with them? Like, we obviously can't have them have discernible personalities. So what we can do is we can have Peter and Bobby just trip over each other for the affections of Angelica.
Yeah.
Even though either she is oblivious, but more likely is just politely rebuffing them.
Yeah. Also, why not just make this Mary Jane?
Oh, I'm sure there was like either a rights issue or they were like, or there was some kind of official thing. In 81, it could have been Mary Jane. At that point, Mary Jane was in the book pretty much primarily. Gwen had been dead already.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. That she, obviously this is pre-wedding and all that stuff. But it's just one of those things that like, it just made me think about, they've been flirting with like, should MJ get powers? And now she's jackpot or whatever. It's like, she should have just been Firestar.
Yeah.
Just rip that Band-Aid off right off the jump because whatever.
Well, because they don't know what else to do with the actual Firestar in the comics. Like, they turned her into a mutant double agent for Orcus in the Krakoa period where Jean Grey made everyone think that she was actually a betrayer of the mutant race. And I'm like, okay, so you didn't know what to do with her, but you also needed a character to be a scapegoat. Like, what a weird decision. So yeah, just have her die and then have Mary Jane become Firestar. I'm in the camp that says Mary Jane should never have powers. Like, she's actually much more interesting without them.
Yeah.
But
she needs to have powers. She needs to date Iron Man. She needs to.
Yeah, we got to have everything but what people would want or expect.
Yeah. So, all right, let's dive right in. Enough foreplay with Spider-Man and his amazing friends. So, the couple last bits. Sorry, I misled you all. First off, we are watching this in the order that it is on Disney Plus. That is not the order that it's listed on IMDb or Wikipedia. I don't know if those are air date order and this is production order. I don't know why the reasoning is, but having watched several of the episodes now, I can guarantee you it does not fucking matter.
It really doesn't. Every episode is just an island. Yeah. They're not related to each other. The only thing that I would want to know, and I did look it up, we pretty much watch them in order. The only thing is episode 2 is something else.
Yeah, and it's like way down the line on Disney Plus. So,
for some reason.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I would like to see if the show, because I do remember at least 2 episodes of the show that I liked, or at the very least watched. You know, like if I had watched any of these first 4 episodes as a kid instead, you know, I would have watched them, but I would have never watched them again.
No.
Whereas the episodes I had later, and I think they're from season 2, and I just wanted to know if like the show actually does get better in season 1, or if they just completely retool it by season 2.
Yeah.
Not that the show is in any way differentiated in season 2, but at least it's tighter. This is just like you don't need to see this show. Like, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to watch the show at all.
You should watch this show, the one we're doing right now.
This one we're watching.
Yeah, yes. But you don't need to watch along with us.
Please don't. Like, you will hate us. Because this is not a watchable show.
I want to share a text exchange, if you'll let me, that we had about this show. you said to me, I've actually watched the show before and somehow it's more intolerable than I remember. I replied, it's insane. I was going to say each episode feels like it's an hour long, but that makes it seem slow. It's not slow. It's just dense with insanity. And I think your response perfectly encapsulated my feelings. You're like, exactly. I think they're just standard 22 minutes and you feel every second. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like,
yeah.
Cause I kept going like, we're wrapping this up now, right? And it just kept going. I'm like, how long have I been here? I've lost all context of time.
Yeah. It's like this was written by like a win a job at a studio contest. Like nobody understands story structure.
Nope.
There's no acts. It's just characters do things and throw themselves at a problem.
Yes.
And also the music.
Yeah, man.
Is incessant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
4 songs, they're burned into my brain. I'm hearing it now.
And so also, if you're listening to this, you're a patron, and thank you for supporting this show. We wouldn't be able to do shows like this without your support of the channel. And I wanted to let you all know that as of this recording, Hellbent, the complete edition, is on Kickstarter. If you go to hellbentcomicbook.com, you can check that out. It collects all 3 volumes plus new stories, has a cover gallery. So even if you've been following the story all along, there's new stuff for you. If you've never tried Hellbent before or checked out any of our previous campaigns, this is the perfect time to jump on because you can get the entire thing. And if for patrons specifically, you will get a Patreon bonus reward. If you back any physical tier, that's $26 and up, there'll be a special sticker featuring Sal and I, me as Spider-Man, Sal as Wolverine, that will just be for patrons, exclusive to you, free if you back a physical tier. So please get over there. The campaign runs through the month of July. Please get over there, back the campaign. We really appreciate your support. And now on with the show. So our opening episode is Season 1, Episode 1, The Triumph of the Green Goblin. Original air date September 12th, 1981. Sal, do you have the IMDb synopsis on there?
Yes, I do. It's the briefest of all of them. The Green Goblin wants to poison the city's water supply with a formula that will turn everyone into creatures like him.
Oh my God. Right off the bat, man, this show is
unhinged.
Baffling. We're going to get into it. So we start promising. Because in my notes, it's like, I want openings like this again. The and like the characters are doing their poses, and there's like a random monster at the beginning that Firestar is useless for. They have to include Green Goblin in the opening crawl just to give Firestar somebody to take out, because Iceman and Spider-Man take out the fire monster.
Yes.
We open with the title card. Is this the only... I just thinking the episodes we watched, is this the only title card we got? The Green Goblin one?
Yeah. That's weird.
That's weird. I thought this is where like Batman the Animated Series got it from, with shows like this. I'm like, we should bring this back. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that like the previous show had title cards, and maybe this is like a
holdover.
Because this episode also doesn't make any attempt to contextualize who Norman Osborn is.
No.
So I'm assuming it's a carryover.
Or even, I mean, yeah, but also it doesn't make any attempt to contextualize Iceman or Firestar or their relationship.
We're meeting those for the first time.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, I like the opening. It's downhill from here, gang. So, real quick, fire powers or ice powers, Sal?
Man, that's a good question. I guess I'll go ice.
All right, I'll go fire. We've got our bases covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as useful. I feel like ice is super useful, especially in this heat. Yeah. But I've always wanted fire powers. The fire always seemed cool to me.
You can fly. That's a benefit.
See?
I don't know how.
know how. It's just comic book rules. You got fire powers, you can fly.
Oh, then you can fly.
Okay, so we start with a couple of crooks speeding away before 40-year-old Spider-Man lands on their car. It's just jarring. Hey, thieves! It's like, oh man.
Right.
This is an older Peter Parker. Also, I haven't spent a lot of time in New York, but I love in these shows, every Spider-Man piece of media, cars racing through New York. Because the few times I've been, it's like, how? Where are you going?
There's just endless space.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I'm like, I understand it's very expensive, but like every city, Gotham, Metropolis, New York, every city is just vacant.
Can I tell you what my explanation would be for Gotham and the Batmobile?
Yeah.
If I were to write Batman, I would explain that nobody in their right fucking mind is out after dark in Gotham.
Hell no.
Yeah, so it gives Batman pretty much free reign to motor around wherever he needs to because nobody else is on the road.
Yeah, that's fair.
That would be my explanation. Anyway, in New York, these guys are just motoring around, or just I should just say, in city. We presume it's New York because Spider-Man, but we're going to get to a later episode that I'm unclear whether the final set piece is in New York. Is it in Japan? Is it in where are we?
Yeah, that's true.
So Iceman, Spider-Man's like thrown from the vehicle. Iceman shows up. He's rhyming about Spider-Man is dumb. I should note here at the beginning, Spider-Man and Iceman will flip personalities at a pretty, like, which one's the dumb one, which one's the smart one.
Yep.
I think they settle on Iceman being the dumb one.
Yeah. He is definitely the dumb one. But also, you could tell they just wrote it almost with no names.
It really feels stream of consciousness. Every episode feels like there was no second draft. We start with a word and then we just write until we've reached the amount page count, send it to the animators, go.
Like, just end then.
Yeah.
It's just there's no because of or so then. It's just and then.
Yep.
And then
yes. Yep.
But it's not like cool. It's not like, and Green Goblin attacks and then and then a giant monster and then like, no, it's just Green Goblin attacks and then he attacks again.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So Iceman, he like stops the robbers, and then cops show up. They start running over, and he's like, he takes the jewels from the robbers, and for a moment I was like, wait, is this a bad Spider-Man and Iceman? And then he throws down an ice slick and trips up the cops, and I'm like, oh snap! And then he slides the jewels over them. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. They gotta show their powers. They gotta make sure that like the kids see it because that's what they're here for.
And then simultaneously, as a storm starts to brew, there's a plane flying overhead. Who's in the plane? Norman Osborn. All right. A very unhinged sounding Norman Osborn is like, yeah, oh my God, they let me free the sanitarium because I'm fixed now. I'm like, are you?
Well, and like he's like, we left the sanitarium because I'm fixed now.
Yeah.
So I needed to, and I'm sorry I made you fly this plane in the middle of a thunderstorm, but I'm cured, so I need to get home right now.
I need to hurry home. He's got like a gun on the guy, and I'm totally okay. I'm much better now.
Yeah. Okay.
So the plane is struck by lightning and goes to crash, and Norman and the pilot bail out of the plane.
Yep.
Whew. And then when he lands, of course, he's Green Goblin again.
Right, he just is.
Yeah. All right. So cut to Aunt May's place. We're introduced to one of our key characters, Miss Lion, who is wearing a goblin mask inexplicably. I guess to transition from the Green Goblin of all. And,
because the Green Goblin doesn't wear a mask. He transforms into the Green Goblin.
Honestly, man, I think, on Ultimate version, he does that. I think that's a good. I think they should have done that for Spider-Man 1, especially when you see the demo mask they made. It's just say that he goblins out. Just take that. When did the Ultimate line start? It couldn't have been that much ahead of. So it was only a year ahead of Spider-Man.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. I mean, like it was influential. So they definitely had that at their disposal. They could have gone with that.
Yeah. So confusingly, Angelica, the first time we see Firestar on the show, she is dressed as Spider-Woman.
Yeah, which is like you're like, oh wow, Spider-Woman's in this show.
Yeah. No.
Because you don't know who Angelica Jones is. So you're just like, oh, wow, okay.
And for context, you're like, Spider-Woman, for kids at home, there was a Spider-Woman animated series in 1980 prior to this. Why? Great question. I had a VHS of that as well.
Yep.
And obviously, clearly, it's the same animation team or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those, like, it's just confusing. It's like, it reminds me of in Batman v Superman, that the first time we see Batman in costume is the nightmare future where he's got a trench coat and a gun. And so it's like, I have no context for what this Batman's normal modus operandi is. So is this weird for this Batman? I don't know.
Right. Is he pushed to this point?
Yeah.
Or is this what he's always wanted to do?
Yeah. And then you see the rest of the movie and you're like, I guess this Batman just is a crazy murderer. I guess that's how he rolls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that great?
So cool. So hardcore and cool. So they're going to a quote unquote comic book costume party, which makes me wonder, what are comic books like in this universe?
Yeah, I guarantee they didn't think about it. But also, it's not going to be like the Black Freighter, where,
yeah, man.
Oh, in the superhero world, they don't read comic books about superheroes. They read them about pirates or space adventurers. No, it's they're
the comics.
These are comic book superheroes. It's a show about that.
Yeah.
So that's what they were going to refer to them as.
Sure. I don't like that. That's a pet peeve of mine. Yeah. I didn't like it in Smallville where you're like, oh, Clark had a favorite superhero comic read. I'm like, bullshit, get that shit out of here. Yeah. The one that I think I'm a little more lax with is Into the Spider-Verse. We established the comics exist, but I think they have a throwaway line that it's kind of like people's interpretations of those adventures. Yeah. It's like they are the equivalent of those Barack Obama. You remember those Barack Obama comics that they put out 8 years ago or however long, whatever time. Was it 8 years? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Point is, I guess comics are lame in this universe because you actually have superheroes.
Right.
Yeah. So Bobby is dressed as Captain America and Pete is dressed as Spider-Man. It is unclear to me in this episode. I have in my notes later. Do they know? Does Angelica know Peter is Spider-Man?
Yes.
Okay.
They know. But we don't know they know.
Yeah, okay. Got it. Cool. So they go to the party and there's a lot of Spider-Man dressed at the party. I don't hate that joke.
Yep.
Here's where things, again, the and then. And also, there's guys dressed up as Green Goblin flying around in gliders that are wired to the roof. And I'm like, that's ambitious for a costume.
Yeah. And you're also kind of committed because now you're just up there.
Yeah. How do you get down? Also, this sets up the craziest fucking thing that happens in this episode. It might be stiff competition. Might be the craziest thing that has happened on anything we've covered on this show. When it happened, we'll get to it. But there's a moment that happens with Green Goblin that I was like, I can't believe that just happened.
Right?
Okay. This episode's baffling, gang. Sorry. So. And I'm going to miss stuff in my note. Like a crown is going to show up. I don't know the context for how it showed up, where it came from. Yeah, I don't know. And because I'm just furiously typing down notes as the show keeps throwing new concepts at me.
Yeah, that's what the show is. It is an assault.
Yes, it is. It is a drive-by cartooning. So, okay. Spidey sense goes off. He's like, there's something up. Then this blonde girl, I have no idea who this is. Blonde girl in like a caveman outfit shows up, hits on him.
Yep.
One is to assume, I thought we were establishing he senses goblins there. I guess it's that this girl?
No. He's in this show, I think, in the context here, the girl is interested, the cave woman is interested in Peter.
Yeah.
Peter is interested in Angelica.
Understandably.
Peter has his spider sense go off. He is looking for Norman. He doesn't know he's looking for Norman, but he's looking for that.
Yeah.
So he is oblivious to or deliberately trying to obfuscate.
Yeah.
Or extricate himself from the situation with the blonde. For reasons that are completely unclear, because there's no way you're getting with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I'm chasing this thing, and she's like, I'm chasing you. Like, that's the fun. See, the joke is that they're chasing different things.
Got it.
That's you have to think of it like you're either 108 years old or 2.
Yeah. Also, his excuse, sorry, Angelica, I got to go to my lab, and then he. One episode in, he's already exhausted. He's like, whatever, my lab.
Well, why am I lying to you? You know who I am. It's just a force of habit at this point. Am I just a jerk?
So he goes to that. Cave Woman's going after him. Angelica's pissed about it for some reason. So she uses steam to make her hair limp and her makeup run, which she is not aware of until she catches her reflection.
Yep.
Okay.
That causes her to run away.
Yeah. So, Goblin is in Peter's lab, the lab at the college.
Right.
Wait, are they having a dance at the gymnasium at the college?
Yeah.
Huh.
Just like there normally are not.
Okay. All right. We're rolling with it. Goblin is already at the lab And he gives this basic bitch version of his origin. Like, I was experimenting in a lab, something exploded, I'm Green Goblin now. You
Fair.
get the idea. Sure.
Okay, I do get it. I mean, like, this is something that I might actually want to watch, but let's cut to Ms. Lion dressed like Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah. Oh man, when we get to the Sunfire episode, ooh,
Oh,
oh, 1980s by way of 1945.
That's what I'm telling you, man. Like the person who wrote this,
Yeah.
like the person who the showrunner is just like, hey, I got an idea. See, kiddos.
Yeah.
Like, is Stan Lee doing it? Because even in 1980, Stan Lee was with it better.
Yeah.
Even like, this is very trite.
Yeah. Whoever was show running the show was already an old man in 1981.
Yeah.
So
true.
The Goblin uses a magic crown to show Peter a vision of New York full of goblins. Where did the crown come from? It is not in my notes. It is unclear to me. They give a name later. I have it written down. We'll get to it.
Good.
Why does he want to make the city goblin?
He's like, they'll be as ugly as me, and I'm like, yeah, but like, why? And I guess because he's insane.
There's so many times like I'm trying to watch the show. I'm taking notes, and I look up, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? How did we get here? So. The Goblin thinks his niece will know where the formula is. Yes, the Goblin has a niece. Because she goes to the school, for some reason, she's privy to where the school has hidden top secret, I guess, formulas.
Yeah, his because they're related. She didn't exist prior to the show. Invent her for the show so that Norman Osborn can have a relative that's at the school, so that he can be at the school for Spider-Man to fight him. Like, this is the logic.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Angelica turns into Firestar to find Peter, but that's just what I have in my notes. I'm like, wait. And so now I'm at the point where I'm like, wait, is that really what happened? She goes into her superhero identity to find Peter. I guess that's what happened. All right. Goblin sets up this elaborate liquid nitrogen trap to kill them both.
Yeah, he freezes. Well, no, he freezes Spider-Man with like a thing.
Yeah.
So he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then he's going to shoot Angelica with the liquid nitrogen ray.
Yeah.
And Peter has to watch.
Uh-huh.
And then he leaves.
That's not going to be the craziest trap in this episode, gang.
No.
So Firestar blocks it with her heat shield, which of course she has to say, heat shield.
And I love that she busts out the heat shield, and then she's like, okay, you stopped it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, now it's starting to break through. I'm like, move!
Yeah. My favorite part of this is Spidey on the sidelines going, more heat! More heat!
Yeah.
I hope our pain is entertaining, guys, because these were tough ones to get through.
This was really hard.
Yeah.
And we thought Spider-Man Unlimited was bad.
Yeah, I thought Spider-Man Unlimited was going to be the bottom of the barrel. Ooh. Okay, so remember Iceman's on the show. He's on a date with Mona, who's Green Goblin's niece. They're walking home.
They were going to dance. Then they left.
Yes.
And then he's like, and I'm like, oh, he's like, you want to get out of here? But they're going back to the dance.
Yeah, No, but okay. If that wasn't bad enough, what Sal just said was not bad enough. Green Goblin flies up in his Goblin glider and he's like, may I have this dance? And Bobby's like, sure.
Right, because Green Goblin has been established as flying around inside the gymnasium by wires. They are outside.
Yeah. And Mona, before Mona can say anything, Green Goblin snatches her and flies away. And then Bobby has the realization, like, wait, we're outside.
At first, he says something about the wires, where he's like, those are some long-ass wires.
Yeah,
Wait, there's open sky in front of me.
Cool.
Wow.
That was the moment. That was one of those, like, I'm gobsmacked that somebody wrote that, and somebody was like, that's fine. And then I
have some reviled animated shows that I don't believe are funny in any way. Like, I remember as a child watching Rocky and Bullwinkle and the Jetsons just stone-faced. I've never had any lick of entertainment value from mostly any Hanna-Barbera cartoon or Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Yeah.
But at least they're trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
This is like a little kid has discovered that words can make people laugh.
Yeah.
But doesn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just saying things.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's like the fact that Bobby is a college student who can't recognize that like wires wouldn't work outside. Like the fact that it's just, but that's the joke. But like the reason why it's there is because it's a joke, because we need to break up the action with levity. If you can even call whatever happens in these shows action.
Oh yeah. Or levity.
But there isn't any, and there's none to be had. And so it's just like, I'm sorry. I just watched the last 2 episodes of this of our sampling today, so it's very fresh in my mind.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Dude,
is.
I had to, normally when we do this, so a little behind the curtain, we record a couple of these back to back, and I normally like just motor through the episodes. This one I have to stop. Yeah,
I broke it up. I watched 2 yesterday, and I just turned it off.
Yeah, I can't. I have to take a break. All right. Okay, so. Oh my God, this goes to one of my favorite things in these episodes. Every time Spider-Man shoots a line, pew, and then climbs up it, just like shimmies up the line. I'm like, wow, this Spider-Man's not getting anywhere fast.
No, that was rough.
Every time, and every time he shoots the web, it makes this little sound, like this little when it like latches onto something. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
love this. Would steal that sound effect. So he's swinging, and when I say swinging, like modern audiences will be used to like Spider-Man, like web zipping, like Tarzan, like stand on the edge of a building as if this were like a live action show.
Yeah.
He has to ready himself and swings like Tarzan to the next building, and then repeats this process over again.
Yeah,
like he's got bad knees that he's got to account for, you know.
Yeah, I don't know why, but his proportions are like startlingly accurate. Like they're very real.
Yeah,
it looks like a person. Like he's just, but in the most inglorious way possible.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, here we go. You know, and I'm like, have fun with it. It's cartoons. You could draw whatever you want. You know.
Yeah, they don't know. So he swings onto a sign that says "Eat crack." It's not, it's like Eat Crackles or whatever. It's a cereal, but the part we see of the sign, it says Eat Crack. Turns out it's where the Goblin's lair. Where is it? Doesn't matter. Who cares? He's got Mona tied up.
Oh no.
Turns out she does know where the formula is. Spider-Man comes down the chimney. He makes a crack like Santa Claus. And I do want to pause for a second to mention the way Mona's tied up is suggestive.
Oh, yeah.
There's things on this. Again, this show is, for 1981, surprisingly horny.
I assume that any of that is thanks to the horny animators or artists who are just, like, tired.
Yes. Dude.
And, like, I don't know. This show sucks. What am I going to do? Artists
are some of the horniest people on the planet, let me tell you.
Oh, Angelica is naked.
Yeah.
Like, every time that she's there, you're just like, This is what she would look like if you didn't draw nipples. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, to the degree, like, I don't want to get in the weeds, but to the degree that her top has a very specific shape that, like, when you say it's this, but without the nipples drawn, it's like that's literally.
That's just breasts.
Yeah,
like, it's just, but like cartoon. But
yeah. Meanwhile, Spider-Man's suit almost feels baggy, and Iceman's like a chunky, like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But that's all those people. Like, that's all the people who are making the show come out, not the people who are writing it and developing it. Those people they're just 2 completely different groups.
Yeah. So, the crown that Goblin's wearing is called the Future Finder.
Thank you.
Whatever the fuck that means. So I guess it's a piece of technology. The Goblin traps Spider-Man in this crazy steel box that has heat walls and walls that'll drop oil and gas. He just had this sitting around someplace.
Yeah, he set it up. Well, I mean, at least it's because he's been the Green Goblin.
You know what's crazy? You know what this makes me think about is when you watch, like, and I don't know what it is like for modern, like Gen Z kids watching like something like Tim Burton's Batman '89.
Right.
But if your context is The Batman or your context is The Dark Knight, and then you watch Batman '89, you're like, what is going on? And you're like, why is this so crazy? And then it's like, well, you got to remember, this is coming off Batman '66. This is a response to that. This is dark compared to that. And watching this gives me so much context for Spider-Man, the animated series. Like, oh, so when the villains have these crazy beyond the toyification of everything, and like Norman Osborn has tanks and stuff, it's like, oh, that felt like the natural progression of like, well, that's crazy. This is more believable. And comparatively, it is more believable the 90s cartoon compared to this.
Oh no! Like if we had our druthers, like we would have watched these shows in chronological order because then we'd be like, oh, the Spider-Man 94 show is so good.
Yeah.
It is so much better than this. And it is. Like it's just it's leaps and bounds ahead of it. It's why people love it. Like not just because it's like, you know, that one episode is really well animated and you'll know because it's used in every single episode after that. But also because like there is an attempt at humor, at character, at story that is just not made. Like it's night and day the level of expectation the audience has. You know, like when this show was being made, no one at any level of this show thought that anyone over the age of 6 was watching it.
Yes.
Like they're like, this might as well just be white noise with the characters just running across the screen.
Yeah.
Like it is being turned on as a babysitter for children.
Yeah.
It's because we are not even selling toys with it. So it's just they say things to fill the air and so that children at the very least can understand or recognize the language is being said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a show for infants.
Yeah, it's a show for infants that are in the 80s that are like sitting around eating lead paint chips. You know what I mean? Like they're not. The bar isn't terribly high here.
It's
clearly.
It's it's almost cynical in a way where they're like, well, it's a show. It's a superhero show. Well, then it must be for literal babies.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, people would watch this, and they're like, what people? Like what like people with special needs? You know, it's like that kind of like level of disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, just this angry, like this is a cynical show. I don't know.
And the benefit Spider-Man has is that it's pulling from source material that is more robust than this, so you can go back and revisit it. Like talking about the context in which this is made makes me think about the challenges you have with something like adapting He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Like, good luck with that, man, when you've got like Scare Glow and Fish Face or whatever your guys are trying to make that for modern audiences. Right. Because that's the foundation you're working off of. Something made for little children in the 80s that a lot of people have nostalgia for, but like it's not. I don't know that it's built to be a 4-quadrant blockbuster. You know, fortunately, there is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
The comic books that are coming out at this time, might as well be Dickens compared to the show. Like, can you imagine? You know, like everybody is always saying, like, "Oh, make a show or make a movie," and then they'll come over to read the comic books. I can't even imagine anybody watching the show and then going, like, "I guess I'll read a comic book," and then being like, "Oh, there's standards."
Yeah.
Like it's just because Spider-Man's around the same age in the cartoon as he is in the books at that time.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just night and day in terms of like story and like treating the audience with respect. It's outrageous. Yeah. So we get another scene where Spider-Man just shoots he's in the mid fight with Green Goblin and shoots a line and then just kind of like climbs across it. We get some. We get some moments like this where they try to fit in a scientific thing. Like Spidey webs. He's like holding on the Goblin's glider, and Goblin is like, "I'm going to use centrifugal force, kids. To look that up in their dictionary to throw you from the thing. See, this is educational." Do you even know, like, if that's what you're using? Like, yeah. And I have my notes here. Where are Iceman and Firestar? Oh, here they are. So Spider-Man is thrown from Goblin. Iceman and Firestar finally show up. I guess they split up to look at different places. Anyway. Yeah, he tells them all to go to different places. Like, he's like, I'll go here, you go to... And she goes to Mona's house. Like, it's a whole thing. Yeah, so Iceman throws down an ice slide to save Spider-Man. A Central Park cop is going to give him a ticket for it, for, like, construction. And of course he has to be like Officer O'Malley. It's like, "Oh, hello there, Faith and Megora. Looks like you kids. I'm gonna box your ears." Like, it's because it's 1920. Yeah. But fortunately, Firestar melts it before this duplicitous ticket can be written. But why are we doing this? Yeah. So here's another great thing. So she melts the thing, and then. Goblin, by the way, he's got his Goblin formula. He's going to drop it into the water supply. And the gang is like, after they melt this ice slide, they're like, okay, pause real quick.
Let's chit chat. What's going on? Oh, Goblin's trying to poison water supply. Great. Okay. What are we gonna do about that? Great question. Oh, how about the water supply's over there? How about we go? And it's like, fucking get your. What are we doing?
Well, at first I think is this a scene where they were talking about like how would he wants people to eat it?
Yeah.
How is he
Dude.
gonna
Yeah, that's
do
right.
it?
How can he do it? They could breathe it. They could eat. What kids at home? How do people ingest things?
Like if only I would actually have respect for this show if they Blues Clues it.
Yeah.
Where Spider-Man's like, wow, this is an interesting predicament. How about you kids at home? How would you ingest something?
Yeah.
And remember, things like paint chips and goblin formulas should never be put in your mouth.
Yeah. There's still lead in our gasoline, but we don't stay away from it, kids.
I know it smells good, but
So yeah, okay, all right. So they figure out, okay, water supply's over there. They do their classic catchphrase. We all know it. Spider friends, go for it. And they
That's such a good line.
they go to this show is insane. It is written by crazy people because here's what happens. So the water supply is just this open vat of water for all of New York.
Water supply.
He drops water. Yeah. He drops the chemicals into it. Iceman is told by Firestar, freeze it to the bottom, which he then does. Yeah. Then Firestar melts her way down to the formula, which is just like a glob. It didn't integrate into it sank. It's dense enough to sink, but does not dissipate into the rest of the water. It's just a glob in the center. So then she carves it out, and I guess they find like a police helicopter or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a police helicopter, and they take it to a sewer drain and just melt it into the sewer. And I'm like, I'm like,
that's also where the water goes.
Are you gonna have goblin fish now? Like, what are we?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's good. I had to do this. I'm sorry, but I looked up who wrote this episode.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what is your problem? And this person who wrote this episode's name is Dennis Marks.
Yeah.
And he was born in 1932, of course. I'm surprised it was earlier than that. I'm surprised it wasn't 1910. But he wrote a lot of cartoons.
Yeah.
Like The Chocolate-Covered Diamond and Beetle Bailey.
Yeah.
But also, he wrote one episode of the Batman animated series.
No, he fucking didn't. Which one?
The worst one.
The Penguin?
Prophecy
of
Doom. The one with that cultist at the planetarium.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I hate that episode.
Dude, so he was 49
when he wrote
this episode.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, which means he was in his pushing his 60s when he wrote that Batman the Animated Series episode. We're gonna move on from that because even though that's the worst Batman the Animated Series episode, it's better than anything. It's better than this.
Oh, it has because there were standards there.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can imagine him being like, I wrote Spider-Man's Amazing Friends 20 years ago, or 10 years ago. I'm fine, and they're like, no.
Yeah, that's not how this is gonna fly. So yeah, this guy was 49. He was born in 32. There's a chance he might have. No, he would have been too young to serve in World War II. But and I also feel like there's a certain
in Korea, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. God damn it, that explains a lot. You know, it makes me think about there was every few years there's a interview with John Wayne that floats around where from Playboy where can you believe he said this racist shit? And I'm like, that interview is from the 80s. He was already an old man. Right. Then in a time that is already old. So he was out of date when he was already out of touch for a time that was already out of touch, man. I don't know that we can, I don't know this is a shocker. I don't know why anybody's pretending they're surprised by this.
It shouldn't be. Let's not try to cancel this ancient person who didn't know. They didn't have the context. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, all right. That explains a lot. This was written by an old ass man. So, all right. They take the formula, they drain it into the sewer. Spider-Man tricks Green Goblin into running into power lines. It's not even worth unpacking. Osborn becomes a self again and offers to go back to the sanitarium. And the episode ends back of the house with everyone dunking on Spider-Man. Every one of these episodes had this little back at the ranch segments.
Back at the ranch, because we got to check back in with Ms. Lion, because you could tell like there was a studio note. Can you get a cute?
Yeah.
You get a cute animal character in there.
We need a Gleek or like a Wonder Dog situation since we're trying to rip off Super Friends. Can you do that
exactly
for us?
Right. And then the show will end with the same tune every time. Ba, 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 kill me.
Yep. So now on to episode 2, which is actually, according to IMDb, episode 3. Again, don't know why this is why Disney has it in the order they do.
This is where the show completely goes off the rails.
You know what's crazy though is I don't hate the premise.
The premise is fun, but like the thumbnail, I'm like, kill.
Yeah.
Like,
so this is the fantastic Mr. Frump. Sal, do you have the IMDb synopsis on there?
Oh, yeah, I sure do. The fantastic Mr. Frump. Mr. Frump, a downtrodden homeless man, I don't know about that, gets a hold of an ancient amulet that Dr. Doom had hoped to use to gain control of the world. As Frump is realizing the amulet's powers and making many new friends as a result, Dr. Doom plots to trick Frump into handing over the amulet.
Yeah, So, Sal's right. This one really goes off the rails. That's the basic gist. Is this guy that sucks? Frump sucks. Let's be honest.
Frump sucks. He doesn't take responsibility for his. He runs into a little bit of like bad luck.
Yeah.
But also, nobody wants to help him because he's such a depressed asshole.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, I didn't ask for this. What the hell?
Yeah. And he gets the Dr. Doom amulet, and then so he can do anything he imagines, which like.
He's a god. He has all the power. Like
really,
Doom says, like he can master the universe. He can do anything.
Yeah.
He's a genie.
Yeah, which really like that's why when we talk about this show doing random bullshit go at you, like this one, ooh baby. All right.
But I'm like, how will the guy who turns into ice stop God?
Yeah. Which, when you say it like that sounds like a cool episode. That's not really what we get. But yeah.
Implication here is that
you make that sound like a cool Star Trek. That's not what this is. So we open at the Royal Embassy of Latveria, where Dr. Doom is just blasting off into a storm, like he's shooting bolts into a storm cloud, which then like lightning's around him in a specific shape. I want to note Dr. Doom has a robot voice here.
He sure does.
So
I don't think they know if he's a robot or not.
I agree. I don't know that they know. He needs a final dude right off the bat. Baffling pacing decisions. So he looks at his manservant Boris, and he's like, Boris, I know I have robot armor and magic powers, but I need the fourth part of this amulet. Can you get it for me? Cut to Peter going to a basketball game. Cut to Boris just kind of melting the amulet cut to the museum. Boris just kind of like melts glass, grabs the amulet. Cut back to Doom where he hands him the amulet. It's like, great, the amulet's done.
What? Like,
why did we do any of this?
Why did we do that? And it's like, because I didn't want to write anything out. Like, because I only have, like, the whole episode is Doom loses the amulet to Frump. Frump becomes God.
Yeah.
Doom manipulates Frump. The Super Friends fight him. And then by like accident, they win.
Yeah.
And then the episode never even happened.
They don't even remember.
Like,
they don't even remember.
So like that's the episode, and they're like, well, we got to fill 22 minutes. Like that's only 30 seconds.
Yeah, because you open like you should open this with like, I need the last piece, and Boris is like, I got you, boss. I just stole it from the museum.
Fun, or at the very least, like, or have fun with it. Like, it's Doom. You have Dr. Doom, who is, by the way, like Spider-Man's greatest nemesis in both of these shows, in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
Where for whatever reason, the most prevalent villain is Dr. Doom. Not Spider-Man's main nemesis, but you open with the embassy. You establish this is a new show for people who've never seen the show before. For children, who's Dr. Doom? Explain Dr. Doom. Like later in the series, they're gonna unleash a narrator on us, and I'm like,
yeah.
And then I realized it was actually a transition to like a professor, and I'm like, what? I thought it was a narrator of the show.
Yeah.
But get the narrator in there, because I remember like there are some shows. It might have been this show later. I think it is later this show. Where Stan Lee's the narrator.
Yeah, he's definitely the narrator. The narrator threw me off. We're going to get there. But the narrator, because I was thinking, it made me think of Pride of the X-Men.
Yeah.
With the Stan Lee narration. Okay. So the gang, Peter and the gang run across Mr. Frump as he's being fired. And they
have no sympathy for him.
No.
He's fired, and they're like, it'll be okay. And then they just leave him.
And the more we get to know Frump, the less I blame them for that. But we do establish that May had a thing for him back in the day for reasons that are unclear. I have in my notes the gang agrees to race to the basketball game. Silly me assuming that we were still following that plot thread. I guess they're coming back from the previous established basketball game. Are they playing basketball? Or are they watching somebody else play basketball? Unclear.
They're watching people, but yeah.
So I don't hate this joke. Iceman and Firestar have their like magic costume changes, and then Peter's like, hold on, I gotta do that.
It's just awkwardly putting on boots, and he's like, I gotta change.
Yeah.
This is the episode where they have the race.
Yeah, this is the one. This is it.
Where he's like, let's race to see who could get there first.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what's going on? This is that. This is a big nothing of an episode. So
every episode is like this.
Yeah. So they stumble across Doom's, just to happen across Doom doing his ritual.
Spider-Man's like, I know a shortcut. So he passes Doom and he's like, oh, Doom's doing something. Now I can actually be Spider-Man for a change.
Yeah. I've got a shortcut through the Latvian embassy. Don't ask any questions. That'd be cool in the Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
You know how they have the different, there's the Sanctum Sanctorum and like Nelson and Murdoch. Let's have the Latvian embassy in there.
Yeah, why not?
So he screws up the ritual. Doom drops the amulet. Frump grabs the amulet, and Doom is like, he'll become the most powerful being in the universe. Then Frump immediately drops the amulet and breaks it. Okay, so Frump does some stuff throughout. Like everybody's harassing him. He tells one guy to bug off. The guy becomes a bug. A bunch of like children start harassing them, and he tells them to go jump in a lake. And they do that. He tells one of the kids looks like an old woman. He tells that kid to clam up, turns into a clam. You get the idea.
Yeah, it's also horrifying because it's mostly body dysmorphia. Like, he just constantly changes people into things.
Doom's fighting the friends. Like Firestar's like heating up a suit, but he's got like a cooling system in there. So Frump starts realizing he has incredible cosmic powers, and he uses it to summon a hot dog.
But then he doesn't like that hot dog because I prefer with relish and mustard. And then it appears, and he's like, "Oh, that explains everything."
Yeah. I do want to know the first image of the hot dog looks like it's just all bun. It's just like 3 buns because it's all the same color.
They colored the hot dog the same color as the buns.
Yeah. Understandably, Mr. Frump, creates a carriage for himself. He turns the mean kids into his servants, and of course, understandably, he wants a friend, and he wants a forever friend, and so he gives himself a cat. And I don't know if he's ever owned a cat. But they're not necessarily the most affectionate, pets you could have. But, hey, man, he loves Mabel.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. Sometimes I just have animation notes. So meanwhile, this fight with Doom still going on.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of the episode, man. There's so much. This show throws so much at you. There's a bit where Spider-Man's like holding on to Doom and they're like spinning midair. It looks stupid. That's it. That's all this note is.
It's terrible.
Frump turns the city into a brightly colored rainbow. Whatever. You get the idea. He starts goofing off. So Frump asks to find out how he got what happened to him, and the amulet takes him to Doom, and Doom convinces him that they're on the same side, and he has to turn the Amazing Friends into stone, but it turns the amulet bits into stone as well. Now he wants somebody to talk to, and Mabel's not going to cut it, so he summons May. He basically just abducts May, and May immediately sees the Amazing Friends turn to stone, and she's like, "Why would you turn that girl into stone?"
That poor woman.
No Spider-Man, Iceman, fuck him. But that girl over there. Because as you pointed out, when she's just stone, it just looks like a girl. You can't see her costume.
Yeah, no, it's just some girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also looks like her face fell off. I should also point out, this is June Foray playing Aunt May.
Yeah.
If she sounds familiar, it's because she's played every old woman for 100 years.
Yeah.
She was a Smurf. She was Granny from Sylvester and Tweety and stuff.
You recognize her.
Everybody.
She's everybody.
You recognize her. But it's just like, hey! And, of course, Bobby Drake is played by Frank Megatron Welker.
Welker, baby!
Who is Freddy, who is everybody.
I don't know.
And he also plays like 6 other characters in this show.
Yeah, if you
like,
look at that, I mean, it took me a second to figure out who plays who on the show because, like, the IMDb did not give a shit. It's like these people are on the show. Who do they play? Who gives a shit?
Yeah. No, it's true. But he also plays Ms. Lion because, of course, he plays every animal. But it was just like, everybody, like, if you can do it, please. Like, they're just like everybody. It's like, you know, we're all gonna put on a show. Frank, you're gonna have to do triple duty though.
He's like, yeah. I'm used to it.
Yeah. And Angelica will play one person and she'll get paid the same rate.
So Frump returns them back into and takes them from being stone, but he takes away their powers, so they can't hurt them.
Yeah, I don't remember how they got their powers back. They just do.
Yeah, they do. It just happens. I'm glad you pointed that out because in my notes it's like they just get their powers back.
Because like also Spider-Man like hurls himself at Doom, and I'm like, how did you jump that far if you have no powers? But then
Frump uses his powers to give himself a palace. Doom, because they don't have any powers, Doom has the heroes on a rope, but then Frump asks for all the money in the world, which knocks Doom out, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, some money falls from the sky and it lands on Doom in the middle of a sentence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so May points out, if you can have anything, what do you need with money? So Frump teleports them to a Roman arena. It's literally just plot point. I don't know what to tell you, gang. It's just like Sal said, it's like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens.
Well, and this is one of those things where you could tell they were like this feels like the last episode of a show where they're like,
yes.
I don't care.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
But this is where they're like, okay, well, since we just don't care and we're just going to do anything, just have a character show up that can do anything, and so that way anything can happen.
Yeah. And I was going to kind of yada yada and stuff, but this show is so insane that when I was like looking ahead, I'm like, wait, I lost myself. Like I lost my train of like, I forgot how this adds up. So anyway, so they're in a Roman arena now. Frump takes them to a Roman arena. One of the funniest bits, every once in a while, this show will just trip over gold, is Dr. Doom whispering into Frump's ears with his robot voice. It's great. They'll do this bit a couple times where a character will whisper into somebody's ear, and it's hilarious to me every time. Just don't
do that.
Yeah, just don't do that. Oh my God.
And then he's like, okay, how about it? I can't think of anything. I like that moment where he's just like, I can't think of anything else to do.
Yeah, because Frump's the worst, dude. He just sucks, which I guess helps them in this, that he has no ambitions.
Yeah.
Okay, so Frump, and again, this stuff happens so quick. I don't remember. He like summons the greatest warrior ever, and it's Genghis Khan. But then for some reason, that's not good enough, so he gets rid of Genghis Khan and puts in a Cyclops and Cerberus. This leads to a moment where to subdue Cerberus, the three-headed hell dog, Spider-Man's like, Iceman, you give him treats, and Iceman makes like dog treats out of ice.
Yeah.
So they are fighting them again. Their powers are back for reasons that are unexplained. And then this whole time, Doom is basically coaching Frump through all this. And so Frump is like, all right, give me the weirdest creature in the universe. And it's a space monster. If you are Godzilla fans out there, it looks like Violence, the plant Godzilla creature thing. It's got tendrils and shit.
It probably is. I mean, maybe they were, because remember that show, that Godzilla cartoon that America made with Godzuki and stuff?
Yeah.
It could just be that they had it left over. And they were like, that's a design, just use it.
Bleak times. So Doom finally gets tired of like May being around, so he blasts her out of the arena. This causes Frump to make himself Super Frump and save the day. So Frump defeats the alien. He offers... Wait, yeah, that is what happens. He offers to fight the heroes. They're like, no, we don't give a shit about you. So then he makes them grow roots into the ground.
Yep. And then Doom is like, if you want, I'm going to tell him to make you to turn himself into a lawnmower or something and kill you unless you convince him to get my
amulet,
the powers or whatever.
You know, I was going to say, like, were they high when they wrote this? But I think it would be more fun.
Yeah. There'd be more shit in it. Like, there'd be more like crazy crap. This is just, it's just really demoralizing.
Yeah.
I feel really bad watching it.
All right. Yeah. So then, May is understandably pissed at Frump at this point, so he summons Mabel again. The friends, the super amazing friends, they're not super friends. Sorry, the amazing friends agree.
I call them super friends as well.
Yeah, agrees to work with Doom, which then I don't even know if any of this plan makes sense. It involves them lying to Trump that'll lose his powers in an hour. So they have to go back to where the ritual was. And while they're lying, just so in case you missed it, their fingers are crossed behind their back. All three of them.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed behind their back. You know, like an Andy Griffith, like they're fucking lying to Opie.
Oh my God.
So they go back to the thing. Doom gets the amulet, but then switches the amulet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah, I remember this. And then I'm like, but what? Yeah, because he's like using the controls, and then he like just squishes some Play-Doh into an amulet. And I'm like,
but then you're getting.
It's not the amulet. But why did it?
But you're getting the amulet. Okay. This devolves into them playing the friends doing a keep away game. And they end up destroying the amulet, and Frump loses his powers, which made me write the note. So they could have destroyed it from the start. They could have just destroyed the amulet from the beginning. They had the amulet before Frump, whatever. So I guess maybe they didn't have all the pieces. Doesn't matter. Doom swears he's going to find another god power amulet, and he flies off. And then they all forget. And I guess Mabel's real because Frump goes away with her.
Yeah, because the cat walks up to him and he's like, "Oh, I'll name you Mabel," and it's the same cat. But like, did he make that cat? Is it a coincidence? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So those are the woof gang, woof on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Those are the first 2 episodes. I do hope maybe it gets better.
Yeah,
not the next 2 episodes, but maybe at some point.
I mean, according to IMDb, the 6th episode, Seven Little Superheroes, is a top-rated episode.
Well, listen, we'll be the judge of that. Let us know. There's comments on Patreon. Let us know if you're watching this with us. Don't feel like you have to, but let us know in the comments. Sal, where can the kids find what you're working on?
Swing by youtube.com/comicpop and youtube.com/comicpopreturns for me and my friends yucking it up about superheroes.
Check that out. If you're so inclined, I've been doing stuff on my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash, so go check some of that stuff out. Once again, if you could go support my Kickstarter for the Hellbent Complete Edition, would really appreciate it. I got a baby on the way, so any support we get on Patreon and Kickstarter is more than helpful and more than appreciated. If you're listening to this, you're a patron. If for some reason we drop this as like a bonus, hey, check out our Patreon. You can check out the rest of these episodes at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. I think that's all the biz that's fit the print.
Nice.
We'll see you next time.